What's going on, everybody? We're back with another deck tech, this time going over our mono blue Urza Lord High Artificer. Uh, he's a awesome commander. He is CEDH worthy, but this is not a CEDH deck, but it's like maybe a notch or two below. Um, So yeah, we'll just get right into it. So when it enters, you create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token. With this token, gets +1/+1 for each artifact creature you control. So obviously comes in as at least a 1/1 because it counts itself. And there's a lot of artifacts in this, so it can get really big. He's not really the main win con of the deck, but he's just there as a little something extra, you know. This is the real meat of the deck right here. Is tap and untap artifact you control to add blue. That's ridiculous. It does twofold things. First off, it lets you tap artifacts that you control, and sometimes that's really helpful. We'll get into that as we come to them. And then obviously it's letting you turn every artifact into a mana source, which is why he's kind of busted. And then this ability can get kind of wonky. You pay 5, you shuffle your library, then you exile the top card until end of turn. You may play that card without paying its mana cost. So yeah, you just get to play everything. You just blindly play a card for 5. They make you shuffle so you can't just tutor something on top, which is good. But okay, so we'll get into it. Win cons in this deck, there's not really one specific win con. There's a lot of combos. You'll see down here. We'll go over the combo wombos in just a second. Um, they, there's not like one linear combo. They've kind of all meshed together. So you have a lot of options in this deck to combo off. You're probably not going to kill people with a lot of combat damage, though I guess you could with some of these bombs. So we'll go over the bombs real quick. Definitely could kill somebody with this. This is Bright Steel Colossus. He's trample, infect, indestructible, 11/11. So you hit one person with this without being blocked, and they just die. And even if they are blocked, it better be more than it better have at least 2/2 power, or two. Excuse me, 2 toughness. If Brightsteel Colossus be put into the graveyard from anywhere, you reveal him and you shuffle it into his owner's library, so it makes it really hard for you to be milled out. That's just a bonus. Really gross. Next up, for a bomb. Bombs are basically like they have to deal with this. Your pod table has to deal with this, or they will die. Karn's power and toughness are each equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. If you have Brightsteel out there, that's a 12/12 Karn you just put out there, so just gross. And Karn's a 5, so minimum of 5/5. At the beginning of your upkeep, add colorless for each artifact you control. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells until end of turn. You don't lose mana as steps and phases end. It's nice. It could help you. What we're really here is just for a really big creature, uh, given the amount of artifacts that are in the deck. So far, Bright Steel and Karn, we're already looking at 2 artifacts right there. Pretty much everything in this deck is an artifact. Um, this is kind of like a mini bomb. It's like a grenade versus a bomb. Master of Ethereum. Power and toughness are each equal to the number of artifacts you control. You kind of see this is a theme going on. More artifacts, more power. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. So he comes with a little extra spice on him. So, you know, like I said, a grenade. This is fun. Traxos Scourge of Krog is a 4-drop 7/7 with trample. He enters the battlefield tapped and doesn't untap during your untap step. Whenever you cast a historic spell, untap him, which is artifacts, legendaries, and sages. So you'll pretty much just get to untap him every turn. This would be the first cut for me, honestly. If you want it to go in a different direction. This deck is by no means a perfect list. I think Heliod was really good. I think most of my decks is gonna pretty much essentially use the best card for the deck. But this deck, there's just so many different directions you can go in this deck. There's so many. Just one of the reasons why he's so powerful is just how far he can go. Um, we do have one board wipe. All is dust. Each player sacrifices all permanents they control that are one or more colors. This includes you. This would hit Urza and any of the blue things that you have on the field, but because you have a lot of artifacts, you don't really have to worry about this. This is a devastating attack on your opponents, though, as it can hit all of their creatures and non-creature stuff that are more than one color. A neat trick you can do with this is with Urza out, you can tap down some mana for using Urza's ability to create color, to create blue. Cast this, and then recast Urza with that extra mana that you produce. So, again, this is a very complicated deck because you have to utilize Urza as much as possible. Um, then we have some card draw. Blue Sun Zenith. Target player draws X cards. Shuffle Blue Sun Zenith into its owner's library. There's a couple ways to make infinite mana in this deck. So if you can make infinite mana, the thing to do is to draw out your library with this card. Assuming you have infinite mana, this puts the card back in, and then you just draw the card, and then you just start milling everybody else out. Um, so that's kind of why it's in there. It's really, it's a pseudo combo piece. Howling Mine. At the beginning of each player's draw step, if this artifact is untapped, that player draws an additional card. You can use Urza's tap ability at any time. So Howling Mine untaps, you get to draw a card by the end of your turn before your next opponent goes. Tap this down, they don't get the extra card. It's just mean. Uh, Obviously, the One Ring's going to go in a lot of my decks. It's indestructible. When the One Ring enters, if it was cast, you gain protection from everything till end of turn, so you need a little protection for you. Um, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring. You tap, put a burden counter on the One Ring, then draw a card for each burden counter on the One Ring. So it does hurt you, but it's card draw, and there's not a lot of life gain in this deck, but you know, drawing cards is never wrong. Um, Videlkin Archmage. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, which you already know there's a lot, you draw a card. Simple as that. Windfall. Each player discards their hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. Obviously, very helpful if you've only got like 1 or 2 cards, and somebody else has got like 7 or more. You just pitch your 2 cards. This probably be one of them, and then you refill your hand. Very good. And you disrupt whatever game plan they were making. Okay. So that's our card draw. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into our combo wombos. This is a very complicated one. Codex Shredder, a target player mills 1 card. Um, and then for 5, you can sacrifice this and return target card from your graveyard to your hand. What you're really looking for is this top ability. It only costs 1. There are artifacts that you can... let me see. There's artifacts you can use that cost 0. And when you use... Sorry, this is a really complicated part. This guy and there's this creature and another creature that whenever you cast a spell, you return target spell or permanent non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So you basically will use your, like you'll cast Soul Ring, and then you'll tap Soul Ring and add 2, and then you'll cast this thing, which only costs 1, so you have 1 mana floating, and then when it hits the ground, you use the Hull Breach to put the Soul Ring back into your hand. Then you tap this to mill 1 guy, then you play the Soul Ring, returning this to your hand, and then you just rinse and repeat that indefinitely. What the end result will be is you just mill everybody out. It's very slow, but once you've got it, if people can't disrupt it, you should just call the game right there, because if they can't disrupt it, you won. Deadeye Navigator is soulbound. You may pair this creature with another unpaired creature when it enters. They remain paired for as long as you control both of them. And as long as Deadeye Navigator is paired with another creature, each of these creatures has pay 2, exile this creature, then return it to the battlefield under your control. The one that you really want to hit with Deadeye Navigator, you really want to pair him up with Peregrine Drake. When this creature enters, untap 5 lands. So he enters, you untap 5 lands, you pair him with Peregrine Drake, you pay 2 to basically bounce Peregrine Drake back to the battlefield. You tap down 3 lands to add them to your mana pool, and then you untap all 5, and then you just rinse and repeat until you have as much mana as you want. Like I said, it's a very complicated deck. It's kind of all over the place, but it's really fun, and you have just bunch of combo pieces. Drapna, founder of Letmon. Latnam. Alright. You turn target artifact you control to its owner's hand. Copy target artifact spell you control. Pairs well with Codex Shredder, and yeah, this is just yeah. I'm kind of not telling you verbatim every combo. I don't want to go like all crazy detailed like I just did with this one. I'm just kind of showing you what you can do to get some. Not all these combo wombos are going to end the game, but they're going to combo you into the ability to win the game. Dramatic Reversal, untap all non-land permanents you control. Remember, all your artifacts are essentially lands so long as Urza's on the battlefield. You can pair this up with somewhere along the way. Um, hmm. Must be in here. Oh, it is in here. Okay. You can pair this up with that, which is Isochron Scepter. When this artifact enters, you may exile an instant card with mana cost value 2 or less from your hand. Oh, look at that. That costs 2 or less. Um, you pay 2, tap. You may copy that exile card. If you do, you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So you can get this over and over. This untaps all your stuff. So you can basically generate a bunch of mana because when you tap Isochron Scepter to play Dramatic Reversal, untap Isochron Scepter, and you can just keep doing that. So you'll get it's just ways to get infinite mana. And just whatever other janky stuff you end up with. Mishra, this ability doesn't really matter. What you're looking for is the 0 cost to work with Codex Shredder. Um, but it has an ability there if you want. Plus, again, with Urza out, it taps for blue, and then it's an artifact to proc all your other artifacts. I put this is a fun one. All permanents are artifacts in addition to their other types, which means all your stuff will now taps for blue. All cards that aren't on the battlefield spells and permanents are colorless. Um, doesn't work so well with all his dust, but whatever. Players may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. Doesn't really affect you that much. Um, the main thing you can do with this in particularly is with this guy, Minarch. Target permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. We've already got that with the latest. And then for 4, gain control of target artifact. So Minarch on itself can, for 7 mana, take control of anything on the board. But with the lattice out that we just talked about, you can just start gaining control, whatever you want from your opponent. So you just take whatever's a threat or whatever is going to stop you. We already talked about Peregrine Drake. Power Artifact. This is a really fun card. Um, enchant Artifact. Enchant Artifact's activated ability costs 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana of that cost less to 1. So you're kind of like, okay, what am I putting this on? Well, you are going to be putting this on either Basalt Manolith. So remember, so Basalt enters the battlefield tap. It doesn't untap during your untap step. It doesn't enter tapped. When you tap it, it gives you 3 mana, but then it costs 3 mana to untap Basalt Manolith. Unless you put on the power armor, which now makes it only cost 1 to untap. So think about it. You tap it to add 3, you pay 1 to untap it, you have 2 floating in your mana pool. Then you tap it to add another 3, and just rinse and repeat, you have infinite mana. And you can put the power armor on Basalt Monolith or on Grand Monolith, same thing, bit slower, but same. No, it's not, because you tap to add 3, you pay 2. It is a bit slower because this one's giving you 2 mana. This one's getting. It doesn't matter. It actually doesn't matter because it's all giving you infinite mana. Um, so, yeah, that's what you're using Power Armor for. And then Welding Jar, again, it's just a 0 drop. Helps proc Codex Shredder. And then, if you need to regenerate a target artifact for whatever reason, you got it there. Also taps, again, for mana. We'll talk about controls. So Hallmark Horror, it is control. You can basically get rid of your opponent's stuff, but really it will shine if you can get it with Codex Shredder. Um, It has flash. The spell can't be countered. Whenever you cast a spell, choose up to one. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or you can return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So you got that going for you. And then this basically does the exact same thing. It's just a slightly worse version. Flying, whenever you cast a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand. So it doesn't quite, it basically does one half of what Hullbreaker does. But Hullbreaker plus Tide Spout, Codex Shredder, you win the game. It's really that simple. And Jin Kataxis is fun. He's a 7/5/5. Whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. The ability triggers only once each turn. A copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. So cast Codex Shredder, get a copy of Codex Shredder, only once per turn. Cast Dramatic Reversal, get a copy of Dramatic Reversal, or Cyclonic Rift, or whatever. Whatever you cast, he basically gives you another artifact instant sorceries, which you're loaded with. So fun card. Whenever an opponent casts an artifact instant or sorceries ability, counter that spell. This ability triggers only once each turn. This is why it's on the control, because I'm stopping my first artifact instant or sorcery spell my opponents are casting each turn. This is for all turns and all. Nope. It only triggers one time. So yeah, once per turn. My turn, your turn, doesn't matter. Once per turn. We already talked about Minmark. Mimnarch. Sorry, guys. It's control because you can just take whatever you want from somebody. You can take their best thing that they're trying to win the game with. Rhystic Study. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays one. I advise you to always pay the one if somebody else has a Rhystic Study out and you play the spell. You should not let players draw cards. If you can help it, that is how they win the game. If I draw cards, I'll win the game. That's just how the game works. Static Orb. This is an amazing card. What is part of what makes Urza so busted. As long as this artifact is untapped, players can't untap more than 2 permanents during their untap step. So you keep this untapped during your opponent's turns. Um, and they can only untap 2 permanents. And the reason why this card is balanced is because it's also supposed to affect you. But before it passes to your turn, you tap it down, and then you get to untap everything, including the static orb, which will then up for everybody else to just. It is a very oppressive card. You will not make friends with this, but it's amazing and it's the best deck to run it in. We talked about him. Um, this is another 0-drop artifact slash mana with Urza on the field. But if push comes to shove, you can exile target player's graveyard with this. So you got a guy who's doing a bunch of graveyard shenanigans. Just get rid of his graveyard. Screw it. Unstoppable Plan. I might actually cut this. This doesn't work as well as I thought it did. Misread it. It's still a really good card for 3. It's an enchantment at the beginning of your end step. You untap all non-land permanents you control. Still pretty good. I thought it was at everybody's end step. It's just at your end step. But again, it gives you all your mana back and all your artifacts. And so this is not a bad card for a blue player. This is actually very dangerous because you don't want me having all. Again, the risk trade-off here is that it's not my lands, but Urza, all my artifacts are lands basically. So you got that. Untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. This is actually a better version than Unstoppable Plan, but it basically is the same thing. So you're just keeping your mana up, your stuff up, and you're going to fight. Winter Orb is basically Static Orb, but just a little different. As long as this artifact is untapped, keyword again, untap, so you tap it down. Players can't untap more than 1 land during their untap step. So Static Orbs is they can only untap 2 things, period. This one, they get to untap all their stuff except for lands. They only get 1 land, which is pretty impressive because you're slowing them down immensely. It's amazing. Play it if you got it. Don't feel shame. Yeah. Okay. So, trying to get this video under 30 minutes. I don't think we're going to do it. But we'll see. And offer you can't refuse. These are just your standard kind of spells. Counter target non-creature spells. A controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't counter anything unless what they play is going to give them the game or they affect something that is going to mess up your gameplay. You don't have to counter everything. When I was new to Commander, I tried to counter every little thing that happened. Don't need to do that. Anything that they can use to win the game, counter it. Anything that they use to disrupt you winning the game, counter it. Everything else, let it ride. Other ways to deal with things. So counter spells is basically, counter target spell. Fierce Guardianship. If you control a commander, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell is very important as a non-creature spell. Don't forget that. Force of Will. You may pay 1 life and exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. So it could potentially be a pseudo-free counter spell. And then Mana Drain, my favorite counter spell in the game. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase. Add an amount of colorless equal to the spell's converted mana cost. So they play a 7-drop and you Mana Drain that. Now you got 7 mana. So, good for you. And then Swang Song, counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird creature token. I mean, this is really good for board wipe, Cyclonic Rift, things like that. We'll talk about some of the mana ramp. This is a pseudo mana ramp because it only happens for 1 turn, but until end of turn, whenever a player taps an island for mana, that player adds an additional uh, blue. So this can springboard you up to getting what you need much earlier. If you can play this on turn 3 or 4 and then just put yourself in a position where you're dropping Urza, Static Orb, things like that, you basically got the game locked down earlier, which is good. A key note that this only works if you tap an island. So when you tap artifacts for land with for blue off Urza, does not work. Will not double. So just keep that in mind. Sad Robot or Solemn Simulacrum. When this player enters, you may search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle, and then when it dies, you draw a card. Just solid. Cost 4, but you're gonna get an island, and then you're gonna get a card when he dies. And then mana reductions, we got a couple of them. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This can actually reduce an artifact down to 0 cost, which again, really important for Codex Shredder. Now, it only takes away the generic. So, like, let's say you were reducing this by 1, you would still have to pay the blue. It would only get rid of the 1. Even if this said get rid of 2, you're still only getting rid of 1 generic. You still have to pay the colored cost. So just keep that in mind. Foundry Inspector. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Basically the same thing. And then Sapphire Medallion. Sapphire. Blue spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So, just reducing things. They're not super necessary. You could take some of this stuff out and put in like more powerful, more synergized cards to get you that Codex Shredder Hull Break combo off quicker. And that would put you more into the CEDH, but this is like, again, I'm not trying to build for CEDH. You got your mana rocks. We've talked about Bassoff. Chrome Mox Imprint. When this artifact enters, you may exile a non-artifact, non-land card from your hand. Add 1 mana of any of the exiles cards colors. Now, normally, you pitch like Dramatic Reversal or Hull Break, any of your blue cards, and now you can tap this for blue. You don't actually have to pitch something with this card. Pitch means to like to pay the imprint. You're like discarding. Pitch is like discarding or getting rid of. Because Urza will turn this on by itself. So if you've got Urza, you got this. You don't have to do the imprint. You still can if you want to, like, if you don't have Urza, maybe you're playing it earlier or whatnot. But yeah, so just keep that in mind. We talked about Grim Monolith. Jeweled Amulet, basically here for it's a kind of convoluted it's a convoluted mana rock, but it's really here for the 0-drop. You play it and then you pay 1 and then you tap it and put a charge counter on this artifact. You basically pick a color when you put the counter on it, and then on the next turn you can remove that counter and add 1 mana that you pick. So like you can play it, tap it, say I want blue. Next turn, when it untaps, you can tap it again and say I'm doing blue. It's very slow, but again, it's really just here for that 0 drop. And if you need it, you need it. Mana Volt, of course, this artifact doesn't untap during your untap step, except for a dramatic reversal. At the beginning of your untap of your upkeep, you may pay 4 if you do untap this artifact. At the beginning of your draw step, if this artifact is untapped, it deals 1 damage to you. So just remember that dramatic reversal will untap it. So will Unwinding Clock. Untap all artifacts you control. It just untaps it. Even though it says it doesn't untap during the upkeep, it just works differently. Um, so you'll get it. So stuff like that. You got 2 removals. Pognify, destroy target creature that can't be regenerated. Its controller creates a 3/3 green 8 creature token, and rapid hybridization basically does the exact same thing. Destroy target creature can't be regenerated. That creature controller creates a 3/3 green frog lizard token. So just spot removal if you need it. Then we'll go over your tutors. Fabricate. Search your library for an artifact card. Codex Shredder is what you're looking for here if you can get the combo set up. Otherwise, just whatever you need to, the board situation will dictate what you fabricate. Oh, I should finish reading. Reveal and put it into your hand and shuffle. Sorry. I know I'm kind of rambling, trying to get through this faster and trying to learn the pace of this. Mystical Tutor, probably the best blue tutor, my opinion. I know you can argue about it in the comments. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, and then put it in. Then shuffle and put that card on top. So go get your Cyclonic Rift or whatever you need. Instant sorceries only. Transient Mage, this is a new one from the Aether Drift. When this creature enters, you may search your library for an artifact card with mana value 4 or 5, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Honestly, might have to take this one out. There's a bunch of like something mage that will tutor up artifacts, and honestly, I threw this in there and was like, yeah, tutor. But I think it'd be better to find 3 or less, because that's kind of in the range of what we're looking for. So I would change this out for something like that. Trinket Mage, I think we actually have Trinket Mage. Yeah. Um, so yeah, that's an easy trade out for something. You can just look on EDH Rec and you'll find the one. Trinket Mage, when this creature enters, you may search your library for an artifact card with a mana value of 1 or less. Reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So this will get your Codex Shredder, your Soul Ring, whatever you're looking for to get that combo piece off. Whirl of Invention. This is a fun one. Improvise. Your artifacts can help you cast a spell. Each artifact you tap after you've done activating mana abilities pays for 1. So basically, you can use an artifact to pay for 1 of the cost. It's kind of pointless in this deck because all of your artifacts tap for 1 anyway with Urza out, but it's there in the event you don't have Urza. Search your library for an artifact card with mana value X or less, put it onto battlefield and shuffle. It's really funny, if X is 0, you can still like search out um, your jeweled amulet, anything that costs 0, welding jar, you can still get that for 3. So it's not bad. We'll do protections. I consider Cyclonic Rift the protection. Some people consider it a board wipe, but I'm only casting this if you swing into me. Or I can kill you with combat damage, but since I'm not doing combat damage really, this is mainly to protect me if you swing at me. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. That's if you pay 2. But if you pay 7, you can overload it, and you may cast this spell for its overload cost. If you do, change target and its text to each. So return each non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. So that gets rid of most everybody's stuff, except for their lands, but great protection card. Darksteel Forge, artifacts you control have indestructible. Simple as that. Desynchronization, return each non-land permanent that's not historic to its owner's hand. You know, they're gonna get to keep some of their artifacts, which are gonna be powerful, but this also hits you. But most of your stuff's gonna be artifact. And doesn't work well with, you know, this card because everything is an artifact. So, but you know, some things, you know, combo wombo, and some things don't combo. Lightning Greaves, you just equip this to Urza to give him haste and shroud. Haste doesn't really matter that much, but the shroud is big. Or, I mean, you put this on Bright Steel Colossus, give him haste. I think he already has haste. What does he have? Trample, yeah. So just, you know, if you need to get him, you know, drop him, equip, go. It's not a bad play. Padim, Council of Innovation. Artifacts you control have hexproof. They can't target your artifacts. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control the artifacts with the highest converted mana cost or tied for the highest converted mana cost, draw a card. So mainly in here for the hexproof, but can get you a card. Scrape Trawler. Whenever Scrape Trawler or another artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return it to your hand. Return to your hand target artifact card in the graveyard with less converted mana cost. Yeah, so you're getting, yeah, you're just getting your artifacts back. It's not gonna hit. It's probably not gonna hit what you want, but it'll hit something, you know, that will help you. More artifacts, the better. So that's your protection. That's more of a recursion. Um, we've done control, we've done counters, done mana, done da 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 da. So we'll go over lands real quick. Academy Ruins. Urza actually founded the Tolarian Academy, which is what this is referencing, so it's kind of cool. Put target artifact card from your graveyard on top of your library. Taps are colorless. Pay 2, tap it, you get your artifact back. Not bad. Ancient Tomb, you know, taps for 2, deals 2 damage to you. Who cares? We don't care about damage. We're just trying to get there and get the win. Dark Steel, taps for colorless, indestructible. You know, indestructible land's not bad. Gemstone Caverns, another pretty good one. If this card is in your opening hand and you're not the starting player, you may begin the game with Gemstone Caverns on a battlefield with a luck counter on it. If you do, exile a card from your hand. Add colorless. If Gemstone Caverns has a luck counter on it, add one of mana of any color instead. Really great card. Inventor's Fair. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, which is really easy, you gain 1 life. You tap to add colorless. You can pay 4 and tap and sacrifice Inventor's Fair. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Artifact activate only if you control 3 or more artifacts. So as you can see, there's just a lot of I can go get the artifact card I need to handle the game at this situation. So that's what we're going for. Bunch of islands. This island in particular is from Dominaria, which I thought was, and I'm pretty sure that's the Talarian Academy, which Urza founded. So just very thematic, you know. This is a new card that just actually got released today on April 11th, the day we're recording this, with the Tarkir Dragonstorm deck, or set. This land enters tapped unless you control a mountain or a forest, so this will enter tap. Sucks. You can tap it to add 1 color, but then you can pay a color and tap it, so basically you're paying 2 extra mana for the spell. The next spell you cast this turn can't be countered. That's really big. It boils down to you have to pay 2 extra mana for the spell, make it uncounterable. That's awesome. I love it. Mystic Sanctuary. This land enters tapped unless you control 3 or more other islands. When this land enters untapped, you may put target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. A little something extra. Otawara. I probably butchered that. Soaring City. Just taps for 1, but you also have this 4 to pay the channel cost. You can discard this card from your hand. Return target artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker to its owner's hand. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. So it's you can protect Urza with it, you can get rid of somebody else's jinky stuff, or you can just play it for a land. So, options are good. Prismatic Vista, you pay 1 life, sacrifice this land, search your library for a basic land card, and put it onto battlefield, then shuffle. It comes with a battlefield untapped. Just thin your deck a little bit. Seat of the Synod. It's an artifact land, which will proc any artifact things that you need, and then obviously taps. Strip Mine, get rid of their lands. Urza Saga, sorry, I'll read it. You can pay, you could tap it to get a colorless, or you can sacrifice this land to destroy land. So use it if you need to. Lands that are really good to hit with this actually are things like the lands that tap for 2 or more. Just nuke it, get rid of it. You traded one of your lands for basically 2 of their lands, which is pretty good. Urza Saga, it's an enchantment land. It enters as the saga enters, and after you draw a step, add a lore counter to it, sacrifice after 3. So when it enters, you'll be able to tap it for colorless. Your next turn, you can tap. You can pay 2 to tap it to create a 0/0 colorless construct token. With this token gets +1/+1 for each. Basically the same token that Urza has. So you'll get another one. It's there. It's there for funsies. Um, it doesn't not have its uses. And then third, you can search your library for an artifact card with mana cost 0 or 1. This could be your Soul Ring. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. It could also be your Codex Shredder if you needed to. So that's pretty good. All right, and I think that's pretty much the whole deck. I know I kind of garbled some of that. I was trying to keep it under 30 minutes, or 6 minutes over. But yeah, that's it. That's Urza, Lord High Artificer. Uh, there'll be a link in the description to this deck list if you want to copy, paste. Tell me what you like about the deck. Tell me what you didn't like. Feedback's great. If you guys play this, please enjoy it. It's a great deck. All right, guys. See you later.